Now, in the strongest signal yet of Dublin's concern about the war in Gaza, the government of Ireland says it will intervene in South Africa's genocide case against Israel. Announcing the move, the Foreign Minister Michael Martin says, although it is for the International Court of Justice to decide whether genocide was being committed, he wants to be clear that the October the 7th attack by Hamas and current events in Gaza represent a blatant violation of international humanitarian law on a mass scale. The Irish Foreign Minister added that the taking of hostages, withholding of humanitarian assistance to civilians, the targeting of civilians and infrastructure, the use of explosive weapons in populated areas have to stop because the view of the international community is clear and it is enough is enough. For analysis of the current development on the war between Israel and Hamas, I am now being joined from Sao Paulo by an international affairs analyst, Uriah Fancheli. Good to have you join us, Uriah.
Good afternoon, Precious. Thank you for having me.
Since the United Nations Security Council resolution for a ceasefire and the freeing of all hostages by Hamas, we have not really heard the silencing of the guns by Israel. What really are the prospects of a ceasefire?
Well, the United Nations Security Council, which is the responsible UN body for maintaining global peace, issued a resolution urging an end to the fighting in Gaza. And this resolution was expected to lead to a significant reduction in hostilities and the release of hostages. But the continuation of the conflict shows a gap between the Council's resolutions and their actual impact. The US, is a key player with veto power in the Council, along with other four superpowers in the world, chose an unusual path by not vetoing their resolution, yet labeling it as non-binding. And this action by the US has stirred international debate, prompting a re-examination of the weight and the enforceability of the Security Council resolutions. Normally, resolutions from the Security Council are binding. They oblige member states to comply. And these directives, they can include various measures from sanctioning to deploying peacekeeping forces, and the success of these resolutions, they depend on the united front of the Council's permanent members, the US, Russia, China, France, and Britain. But we see that the Security Council is not united. So it is very difficult that we can expect a concrete measure from the Council. I see it more, Precious, as a yellow card from the US to Israel than an actual way to try to force this resolution to be put into practice.
And I will get to the US-Israel relations in just a moment, but on Wednesday, the Prime Minister Netanyahu spoke to a bipartisan group from Congress, the US Congress, and I want to quote him. He said, quote, "We've killed many senior leaders of Hamas, including number 4 in Hamas, number 3 in Hamas. We will get number 2 and number 1. That's a victory. Victory is within reach. It is a few weeks away." If there's anything Netanyahu understands, he understands U.S. politics, and he seems to be playing the internal politics of U.S., especially because this is an election year. What's your interpretation of this move, and are we likely to see a change in policy in U.S.?
Well, when the U.S. is threatening to lower its support to Israel, Netanyahu has to show results. And which results are these? Saying and claiming how many members of Hamas are being killed. According to Israel's own numbers, there are about 30,000 Hamas members in the Gaza Strip. And also, according to the IDF, more than 12,000 Hamas members have been killed. But if we look at the total population of Gaza, Hamas only represents 1.36% of the total population. But at the same time, they need to show that their goals are being that they're being reached. But Netanyahu he is playing with the U.S. public opinion. He knows that even both sides, Republicans and Democrats, are historically supporters of Israel, and he doesn't want to lose this support. Even Donald Trump, that has a stronger stance on Israel, you might remember that he moved the American embassy from Tel Aviv to Jerusalem when he was president. Even he said recently, maybe a few hours or a few days ago, that Israel should be more careful and should stop the way that it is fighting the war in Gaza. So Netanyahu's own political survival depends on his performance on this war.
There seems to be an increase in isolation of isolation for Netanyahu, whether it's from Donald Trump. We also heard from Chuck Schumer, who is a senior U.S. Democrat in Congress. We've seen just a statement coming from Ireland as well. But let's not talk about the Israel-U.S. relations. We've also seen that evolving in the course of the war. What has shifted, and has the alliance reached its breaking point?
I think a significant, I don't know if we can yet call it a turning point, but the fact that the U.S. has abstained from the United Nations resolution after maybe 3 or 4 times that it vetoed other resolutions, it sends a very strong message. It caused some consequences. For example, the Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, his first reaction to it was to cancel a mission of Israeli people that were going to the U.S. And of course, he rescheduled the visit again. He's now sending these people back to the U.S. But it shows that the relations between the two countries, they are not the same as it was. But at the same time that we see these messages being sent from one side to the other side and vice versa, we see continued U.S. support. The U.S. is still sending weapons to Israel, and that shows a little bit of hypocrisy as well.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for talking to us, as always. Always a pleasure. Uriah Fancheli, International Affairs Analyst.
Thank you.